It's Thanksgiving Eve, and Portland International Airport is almost empty. Most of the pre-holiday passengers have already made it to their destinations. I walk up to the Northwest Orient Airlines counter, take a $20 bill out of my pocket, place it on the counter, and ask for a one-way ticket to Seattle. "Your name, sir?" the woman behind the counter asks. "Dan Cooper," I tell her. But after a mix-up in the newspapers, I'll come to be known by a much more famous name. I am D.B. Cooper. The woman at the counter hands me my ticket. I look down at it. It's November 24th, 1971. My flight number is 305 on a Boeing 727 and is due to depart Portland at 2:50 p.m. I make my way through the sparsely populated airport towards the gate where my plane will be departing and make my way onto the plane. I find my seat, 18C, at the back of the aircraft. I light a cigarette and order a bourbon and soda from an air hostess. I feel calm, but the drink should help just in case my nerves start to take over. I survey the aircraft and take note that the flight is not full. I'm wearing my dark suit, pressed shirt, and black tie with a mother-of-pearl pin. Classy, but not flashy. I could be a businessman making his way home for the holiday after a last-minute meeting, or an engineer on his way to a conference, or any number of everyday professionals going about their daily life. Most importantly, I blend in. The pilot makes his announcements and the plane takes off on time at approximately 2:50 p.m. Everything is on schedule. Everything is going according to plan. I look around for the closest flight attendant to me, and I see an air hostess sitting at the back in a jump seat attached to the aft stair door. The seatbelt sign is still on, but I unbuckle and get up from my seat. I walk to the back of the plane towards the hostess, and she seems to pay me no notice. I read the name on her badge, Florence Schaffner, as I take a folded note out of my pocket and hand it to her. She takes the note, looks at me, and without a second thought, drops it unopened into her purse. No, this isn't right. I need her to read the note. I lean forward and whisper, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Now I've got her attention. She quickly takes the note out of her purse and reads it. I'm not sure what the look on her face is. Is she scared? Annoyed at what she suspects is a stupid prank? Regardless, she follows me to my seat and sits beside me. She asks to see the bomb, so I open my briefcase just enough to expose the red cylinder, wires, insulation, and cylindrical battery. She looks like she believes me now, as I calmly state my demands. $200,000, which is equivalent to around $1.2 million today. 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve, and a fuel truck standing by at the airport in Seattle to refuel upon arrival. I watch as she makes her way to the front of the aircraft with the note and enters the cockpit. Whilst I'm waiting for her return, I put on my sunglasses. After some time, Schaffner arrives beside me and confirms that she has relayed my demands to the pilot, William Scott. I knew Scott would contact air traffic control, but what I did not know is that air traffic control in Seattle-Tacoma, where we were due to land, immediately contacted both local and federal authorities. Donald Nyrop, the president of Northwest Orient Airlines, not wanting to have a bomb go off on one of his planes, had ordered everyone to fully cooperate with my demands, which meant that they were willing to pay my ransom. The FBI were informed of the situation and the decision of Nyrop. They organized the collection of the ransom money and ensured that the bills all contained the serial numbers starting with L and were issued from the 1963A or 1969 series. This would allow the FBI to easily trace the bills if I ever spent them. The serial number would quickly show that the bills originated from the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. The FBI quickly collected 10,000 unmarked $20 bills and photographed each of them to pay my $200,000 ransom and put the money in a bag. When Schaffner returned from the cockpit, she confirmed that Scott had informed my demands and that he contacted air traffic control at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. It turns out that the parachutes I requested would be military-issue parachutes. I calmly relayed to Schaffner that this would not be acceptable and that I would only be satisfied with civilian parachutes that have manually operated ripcords. Little did I know that the FBI were having trouble locating parachutes to suit my demands. I waited while they contacted a local skydiving school and brought some parachutes from them. I asked for the note back. No sense in leaving any more evidence than I have to. We are en route and nearly to Seattle. I order another bourbon and soda. Schaffner has been good to me, so I offer her my change when I pay my drinks bill, but she refuses. I offered to request meals for the crew when we landed in Seattle, but this offer was rejected by the crew. I looked out the window and recognized the terrain. I look at Schaffner, then back out the window. Looks like Tacoma out there. The pilot, Scott, makes an announcement over the intercom to the passengers. He explains that we will be circling before landing because of a mechanical problem. I knew this was not true and that we were, in fact, waiting for confirmation that my ransom was ready and waiting. It's 5:39 p.m., and the aircraft has finally landed. The sun has gone down. I am standing by the cockpit, instructing Scott to taxi the plane to a more isolated area. I request that all the window shades are closed. I have no idea how brave the police will be, but I don't want to risk any sniper attempts. We are followed by the FBI, local authorities, and a field truck to our isolated location, and the aft staircase is lowered. I instruct Tina Mucklau, another flight attendant, to stand by the stairs and await the delivery of my ransom. Sure enough, a gentleman dressed in civilian clothing approaches the plane carrying a bag. Scott has informed me that the Northwest Orient Seattle operations manager, Al Lee, will be making the drop. I wait inside as he hands Mucklau what looks like a backpack and some parachutes. I wait for the gentleman to back away and for Mucklau to re-enter the aircraft before I check that my ransom has been met. So far, everything has gone to plan. I have my $200,000 ransom and 4 parachutes. I have everything that I have asked for, so I instruct every civilian to exit the plane. I also ask that Flight Attendant Schaffner and Senior Flight Attendant Alice Hancock to leave the plane. I don't want any more people than I absolutely need on this aircraft. I am talking to the crew about the next stage of this flight. When we receive a request from a Federal Aviation Administration official, they want a face-to-face meeting with me on board the plane, but I'm not stupid enough to take them up on their offer. I know they want to do more than talk, and there's little chance that they'd leave the plane without me in cuffs, or worse, in a body bag. So I refuse. No more talking. We must leave as soon as possible. I organize the flight path with the pilot, the co-pilot Ratasak, Flight Attendant H.E. Henderson, and Flight Attendant Mucklau. I tell them that we need to set a southwest course from Mexico City, and I provide them with the exact flight details. We need to fly at approximately 100 knots, 185 kilometers per hour, and at a maximum altitude of 10,000 feet. The cabin would remain depressurized, as you can breathe at this altitude, and the aft staircase would need to remain open. We had a problem though. Ratasak raises a valid point that the plane would not be able to maintain that flight path without refueling again en route. I hadn't planned on this, but it's okay. I can adjust. We decide that the plane will stop in Nevada to refuel. I am aware that time is ticking, and we are not ready to take off yet. The longer we stay, the more dangerous the situation becomes for me. I'm informed that the tanker sent to refuel the plane has a vapor lock in the pumping mechanism. The only way to get enough fuel for the journey is for another tanker to be sent. I'm nervous. Is this a trick by the police? I have no choice though, and I reluctantly agree, watching the clock. The staircase is open and extended, and we are ready to take off. But a message from Northwest Home Office comes into the cockpit. They are objecting to us taking off with the staircase down, stating that it would be unsafe. I decide that it is better to get in the air rather than argue. I order the crew to pull up the staircase, and we head to the runway. It's 7:40 p.m. I know that a fighter plane has been sent up in the air with us. I can't see it, but I'm positive it's out there. It doesn't matter though. I'm not going to Mexico like I told the crew. No, I have a better plan. What I don't know at this stage is that there is a total of 5 fighter planes trailing the Boeing 727, keeping an eye on us from above, below, and behind. I order all the crew to enter the cockpit and lock the door. As I tie the bag of money to my waist, I see Mucklau look at me one last time before she closes the cockpit door. I know she's trying to burn my image into her mind. I ready myself. The time is close. I have to make sure that I time this perfectly. It's 8 p.m. I make my way to the back of the aircraft and I open the aft staircase. Through the intercom, I hear the crew ask if I need assistance. I curtly refuse. No. It started to rain as we were in flight, and now the storm is in full swing. I look out into the darkness, terrified of the idea of leaping out into this void. But this was always the plan. I have to. The wind is howling and rips around me to the point that it's almost deafening. It's now or never. I must jump. For over 45 years, the FBI has continued an active investigation into the identity of D.B. Cooper and his whereabouts. It is uncertain whether Cooper even survived his jump into the darkness that night, but many have theorized about who he really is, why he did what he did, and what actually happened. In the 1970s, air travel security was quite different, and you did not have to provide an ID to buy a ticket to travel by plane between states. This is why Cooper was able to give a false name and obtain a flight ticket without anyone questioning him. The exact location of Cooper's extraordinary jump out of the aircraft is still unknown. Despite the trailing fighter planes, with the entire flight crew locked in the cockpit, there were no witnesses to the exact time and location of the jump, just the upward tail motion of the aircraft. This means that the FBI had to use the limited information they had to determine a search area, which some have since suggested was actually the wrong location. The only bills that have been recovered from the ransom were found by an 8-year-old boy in 1980, when he was vacationing with his family on the Columbia River, about 9 miles south of Vancouver, Washington. He found a decaying package that contained $5,800 in total. The serial numbers matched those from Cooper's ransom, and all the bills were $20 bills. There have been over 800 suspects considered for this case, but a lack of hard evidence meant none of them could be charged or prosecuted. There are still many different theories about who D.B. Cooper really was and how he got away from the crime scene, with several people even claiming to be the mysterious hijacker, but nothing has ever been definitively proven. In July 2016, the case was officially suspended by the FBI.